Hi, welcome back to another episode of the Luscious Living podcast and video series. I am thrilled to talk to you about something that can be potentially life-changing when it comes to cravings, therefore fat loss, therefore confidence and freedom in your body, and that is cravings. No one ever taught us that cravings usually mean that there is something else going on in the body. Why you crave sugar, why you're craving ice, why you're craving chips, and maybe tangy chips specifically as well. These are all ways that your body sends you signals that it needs a certain kind of nutrient. And I am here to help you understand what those cravings mean and how you can give your body what she needs and therefore look and feel your absolute most radiant self, best self. Okay. So, welcome to the video. My name is Celine Bilgin. I'm the founder of Luscious Living, where personal growth meets wellness. I am the author of the Painless Period Guide. And I specialize in women's hormone health and weight loss. And if you look back on my own journey, you will physically see the evidence of how I used to look, for my own frame, I'm almost 5'6", and being about 190 pounds was very overweight for me. And really throughout my whole life, I struggled with weight and an ED and hormone imbalance and gut health and acne and all of that. And I really believe I have overcome all of those things so that I can be of service and value to you as well. So, welcome. What we're going to go over is common cravings that many of us have. And I'm going to go list by list as to what those deficiencies or what those cravings mean. And in terms of nutrient deficiencies, we're going to go over key foods that are high in those nutrients as well so that you can incorporate it into your weekly diet and therefore really start to notice the big difference in your own life. Okay. So, first and foremost, we are going to start off with magnesium deficiency and some telltale signs that you might be deficient in magnesium. And again, this is general information, so make sure that you check with your doctor, with your nutritionist before making any changes to your diet, and we're going to go right into it. So, one of the most common symptoms of magnesium deficiency is you might get twitching under your eye, even if it's occasional, even if it was weeks ago that this happened to you. Okay. You might get leg cramps or restless legs. That's a really, really big sign. You might have anxiety or restless sleep. You might be craving chocolate. And this is for all the women who crave chocolate before your period. So, magnesium is also going to help relax the uterine lining. It is involved with over 300 processes in the body. And so the soil is also depleted in magnesium. Okay. And so magnesium is going to help with sleep, help with muscle relaxation. It's going to help with any bit of chocolate craving. And again, you will start to notice magnesium once you're on it, and then you don't take magnesium anymore. Some of the best foods that are high in magnesium are going to be spinach, dark chocolate, almonds, black beans, and avocados. The thing is, magnesium is hard to get in our soil today. And this is why I do recommend supplementing. You can supplement through a capsule, you can supplement through a lotion, or you can supplement through a drink. Depends on your needs. I don't really like to give people who have digestive issues any sort of capsule. I do prefer a lotion or a spray, which you can spray on your feet at night before going to bed at least 3 to 7 times a week. Then you can also get a magnesium drink, and that's what I really, really love myself lately. It's really more in the warmer months. I put some ice in a wine glass, and there's like watermelon flavored, berry flavored, citrus flavored, unflavored as well. And I like to make myself a little drink, and it just adds to the nighttime routine there. So that being said, there are different types of magnesium as well. And the one that I want for this case specifically is going to be a magnesium glycinate or biglycinate. When you get it through a lotion, it's going to be a chloride solution, and that's okay. Now, there's different kinds of magnesium. Magnesium citrate is good for bowel movements. There's threonate. There's tons of different kinds, and the ones for this specific case is going to be a magnesium biglycinate. Okay, and biglycinate helps to make it more bioavailable in your body. Magnesium deficiency is quite common. Stress and coffee and sugar all deplete it, especially a night of drinking will deplete it. So please make sure that you and your family have adequate magnesium at home, and this is safe for the whole family to take. Okay, so magnesium deficiency, those are the symptoms, those are the foods, and I do recommend supplementing in this case. Now, when it comes to an iron deficiency, if you are craving red meat, and especially if you're vegan or vegetarian, and I've been both, and I have had guilty cravings for a burger, and especially you ladies, you might find before your period, during, or after, you might be craving a burger. So I want you to listen to that. So you might actually have, and this is more in a severe case, but a desire to chew ice. Okay. You might have a period that lasts you about 1 to 2 days and it kind of completely disappears. You might be getting headaches or migraines before your period. If you get headaches or migraines, especially when there is a Chinook or any pressure changes in your environment or wind, especially, you might get a shortness of breath. You might be super tired. You might have cold hands and feet as well. And those, and even pale skin, pale lips, if you notice a pale tongue, those are going to be symptoms of an iron deficiency. And actually something really important is hair loss and thinning hair, is because your body needs to have adequate circulation to deliver nutrients to your extremities. So your hair, your fingers, your feet. And if there's not enough hemoglobin and oxygen, you're going to be tired and you're not going to be able to deliver nutrients to those parts of your body. And so it's usually, and this is what I see clinically, is that it's usually the hair loss is not because of you changed your comb or your shampoo, maybe, but internally you need to make sure that you're getting enough iron and enough nutrients as well. So some of the best sources of iron is going to be through red meat. And I know there's a lot of negative media on beef and red meat. And for a lot of people, this is actually a superfood for them. Quality matters, grass-fed matters. So that's a whole other conversation that we're not going to get into today. Okay, so good quality, local red meat, good source of iron. And on that note, also organ meat, especially beef liver. Beef liver is something I personally take. I take a grass-fed, grass-finished beef liver capsule, and I aim this right during my period and after my period to replenish iron levels because I can get really, really tired otherwise. So red meat and beef liver, okay? Lentils are another good source of iron. We have spinach, pumpkin seeds, and quinoa. They are not crazy sources of iron, but they definitely help. I have a whole podcast episode on iron deficiency that I encourage you to listen to, but iron deficiency is a big one because it can totally change your life to improve your iron levels. Also, I love nettle tea. Nettle tea is fantastic, dried, of course. Parsley is a good herb to sprinkle here and there. Those are also going to be helpful for iron levels. Other tools can be a cast iron skillet, which I personally love, or something called an iron fish. Now, I was really hesitant on, it's called the lucky iron fish. There actually can be helpful to put this in water, and it can actually help increase your iron levels. Make sure you get some blood work done and really be able to see the results that you continue with the progress that you're having as well, okay? So iron deficiency, some key foods and action steps, herbs, and even a supplement there. So another one here is if you find yourself chronically craving ice cream or if you're craving cheese, which this is wild. I remember last year, there is a point where it was in the wintertime where the insides of my nose was so dry at night, even though I had a humidifier, even though I ate sardines and fatty fish. And I was so upset about it because it's hard to breathe and I couldn't breathe properly. So I was also craving ice cream and mostly cheese at that time. Like I really just wanted pizza all the time. And as soon as I started to take omega-3 supplements, so I love and recommend cod liver oil, that changed everything. And I highly recommend it if you crave pizza, nachos, anything cheesy, anything with ice cream as well. You might also notice dry skin, dry hair, difficulty concentrating, dry nails, joint pain or stiffness. I want you to make sure you're getting enough omega-3s. It's also highly anti-inflammatory. You can get this in sources like salmon, mackerel, sardines, walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds. Personally, and I wonder if it's also because of my genetics, my family's from the Mediterranean, I find that I need to supplement with an omega-3 supplement as well. There's lots out there. If you want a recommendation, I have some really, really good quality cod liver oil linked below for you. And this cod liver oil, because it's wild, because the fish are exposed to a normal environment, they also get vitamin D. So you don't need to necessarily supplement with vitamin D either. And the quality of the omega-3s is so important. I would not just get any old omega-3 supplement. So I have the best one on the market for you linked below. Okay. Now, this one's so interesting, and this is taking into account a little bit of Chinese medicine wisdom. And I find this to be very true in clinical practice. So if you are someone who craves sour foods like pickles, sauerkraut, if you crave sour candy, if you crave tangy chips like not really barbecue, but more like sour cream and onion, salt and vinegar, especially if you crave ketchup chips or just tangy flavors, that is a good symptom and sign that your liver needs a little bit more support as well. And so if you also are getting any eye problems, like really dry eyes, and you're like, oh, it's probably because of my climate, where I live is very dry. If you are prone to having other eye issues, like more like inside of your eye, if you get headaches and muscle tension, especially in the jawline, that's a little bit more on the gallbladder side of things. If you find yourself irritable or angry, if you find yourself having mood swings or inability to fall asleep before your period, it is a good indication that your liver needs a bit more support and love. And how you're going to do that is incorporating a lot more citrus fruit. So whole lemons, not just the one that comes in a bottle, lemons, limes, grapefruit. Okay, really, really important. Try to do this every day. Beets are really good for the gallbladder especially, but also good for the liver. The liver loves anything that is green, stocky, and fibrous. So this could be asparagus, could be celery, it could be kale. Really, really good. So I want you to think especially cruciferous vegetables and green vegetables. They're different. So cruciferous vegetables are things like broccoli, cabbage, kale, turnip, rutabaga, bok choy. Then green leafy vegetables, again, spinach. This could be asparagus. This could be watercress, for example. I want you to have both of these foods because both are really good for liver health as well. Garlic and turmeric, also really important for liver health that I want you to increase into your diet. So if you're like, oh, Celine, I already have lemon water and I eat garlic, is this garlic like 2 or 3 bulbs once a week? Because if you can increase it, I highly encourage you to do that. So a liver healthy week could look like lemon water in the morning, you have grapefruit as a snack, you have lemon juice in your salad with beet greens, and you maybe have spinach, you have broccoli, you have turnips in there. That would be a really good way to incorporate some of these foods into your week, okay? Now, this one is a little less common, or a little bit more under the radar, I should say, is zinc deficiency. Zinc deficiency can actually result in a loss of taste or smell, poor wound healing, also hair loss, decreased appetite. Zinc is also really important for fertility, especially male fertility, and a weakened immune system. The best sources of zinc are going to be in oysters. This can be canned smoked ones, the ones that you would get in a restaurant, like raw, fresh oysters, pumpkin seeds, beef, chickpeas, and cashews as well. Okay, so a dinner idea could be like a chickpea buttered chicken in a way, or it could be a beef taco. It could be pumpkin seeds and cherries for a snack. Okay, so that's zinc. Then we have, don't worry, I'm going to get into salt and sugar cravings as well, but B vitamin deficiency. B vitamins are thankfully found in a lot of foods already, but if you notice that you have numbness and tingling on your arms and fingers, if you have fatigue, if you have skin issues, mood issues, that's a big one. If you're on birth control, because birth control actually depletes very hormone or very B vitamins that you need for fertility: B12, B6, B9. Okay. And so the best way to get more B vitamins, and this is really for everyone because B vitamins rule so many things. They're really the catalyst to be able to have other metabolic outcomes in your body and other processes. So I want you to make sure that you have foods like salmon, eggs, lots of leafy greens, more than you think you need, legumes like chickpeas, black beans, etc., and whole grains such as quinoa, such as bulgur, such as buckwheat. Okay, there's lots of grains that are not really used but can be really, really helpful like that. Um, Also, I always get asked about greens powders. A lot of people can benefit from greens powders. However, there's usually wheatgrass in the powders, or like barley grass, and our stomachs as humans are not designed to be able to eat and digest all these different kinds of grasses. Cows are, however. And so if you find that you get bloated or gassy after having greens powders, that's probably why you're probably not digesting it properly. If there's a greens powder that has more like spinach, for example, um, or spirulina, those are good ones. But even something like kale, if you have too much raw kale, that can actually start to harm your thyroid. So I'm not crazy about it. It's good for travel, but if you can incorporate your greens via smoothies or just do lots of stir fries and throw your greens in there, keep them greens in the freezer if you have to, and just put them in the air fryer or the oven, stir fry them. Make it easy for yourself because you have the greens, but then you also have the fiber that comes with it. And fiber is going to be absolutely key for so many things in your body, but like blood sugar alone, bowel movements, detoxification, etc. Okay, so really the answer is depends on you, and that's always my answer. Depends on the individual. Okay, now sugar cravings. I want to tell you a honest story about my own sugar cravings. There was a point, this is about a decade ago. I graduated university and I was living on organic farms because I wanted to learn how to grow food. And there was a point where I knew nothing about protein. I knew nothing about, like, I always ate healthy and whole foods, but I didn't know the right macronutrients. I had no idea about cravings and what they meant. And I had insane sugar cravings. And I admit there was a time where I was living on one of the farms and I lived in an actual trailer and I was by myself. And there were times where I would literally eat spoonfuls of maple syrup. I know that that's not a healthy and normal thing to do, but I just obviously was so nutrient deficient and protein deficient that I literally would. I actually at one point, oh my God, I'm going to tell you this anyway. I literally even like took a swig of maple syrup right from the bottle. That is not a normal behavior on my part. I clearly was having troubles with that. And of course, I was having issues with weight as well. And my sugar cravings felt like completely out of control. I felt a loss of control, a loss of power around sugar. I always needed a cookie at Subway. I always needed candy. I always needed, and I still enjoy, don't get me wrong, I still have a sweet tooth. I am the first one to like enjoy a piece of cake. I'm the first one to grab fruit, whatever it is. I still love dessert. In fact, I almost named my business Dessert First Nutrition. That being said, there is a point of it being normal versus not, okay? It is completely normal to crave sugar. The first food that many people have coming out of their mother's womb is breast milk or any kind of formula, and that is actually naturally sweet. When we celebrate, we have cake typically, and that is naturally sweet. When we also have sugar, it releases dopamine in the brain, so it's a reward, so it feels good, okay? So a lot of these things are normal. It's normal to crave sugar after a food, for example, you have lunch or dinner, but the type of sugar and the frequency and the intensity, all of these things make a difference in what the kind of sugar we go for. Now, a lot of the time, sugar cravings come from a lack of protein. And I noticed this especially when I went backcountry camping last year and we only ate vegetarian foods to avoid any animal contact. And I noticed I was constantly craving sugar, but it was earlier in the day. Like we would have pancakes, like it was like protein pancakes with whole grains and beans, and we ate like very healthy, wonderful foods. But immediately after breakfast, I would crave sweet food, and I would have a very strong craving. I craved sugar all day long. That's all I could think about, and I ate way more. It was wild to think about, and I really noticed this when I was vegetarian and vegan as well. And so I noticed that the more protein I had, the less sugar I craved. But then there was a point, this is even up until a few months ago, where I was like, I'm hitting my protein goals, but I'm still craving sugar. What's the deal? Especially for me, candy. It was very specific. And when I work with clients, I always ask, do you crave pastries? Do you crave chocolate? Do you crave ice cream? Do you crave candy? And for me, candy was the biggest one. And I get like the healthier version of candy, like Haribo doesn't have artificial colors in it, for example. But it was still the same thing. I would still crush a bag of candy. And I noticed that the more fruit I had, watermelon, cherries, nectarines, blueberries, etc., I don't even think about candy. Like that's wild to me because that's coming from someone who freaking loves candy. Okay. And I admit, like, I didn't love the fact that I did. And I know that I was like working on weight loss, but I couldn't help the fact that I would crush a bag of candy. And that's the first thing I would go to when I had a treat. So, my tip is to increase your fruit intake. Fruit has fiber, it has natural sugar that's not going to spike your blood sugar unless you sit there and eat an entire watermelon or an entire carton of mangoes. We've been, I think, taught to fear fruit, which is unnecessary. But then what have we not been taught to fear is breakfast cereals and granola bars. And there's no negative media on that because people are not necessarily profiting when you eat more fruit. Okay. And so please don't be afraid of fruits. You can absolutely have the fruit that you desire. Now, is tropical fruit best for everyone, especially if you have blood sugar issues, especially if you maybe have PCOS? No. So something like grapes, pineapples, we have watermelon, mangoes, tropical fruit like that, high sugar fruit, not great if you have diabetes, not great if you have PCOS. So berries are going to be a safe choice for most people. Same with apples, especially green apples are great for the liver. Same with pears, all really safe fruits. Grapefruit, oranges, mandarins, etc. Okay, really focus on that kind of fruit, and I know you will see a difference there. I also talk about sugar when it comes to pastries. So pastries usually can also come from a lack of protein, but also an imbalance in your gut bacteria. I used to always crave different kinds of breads, muffins, cakes, cookies, things like this. And I will still make these foods on occasion, or let's say it's a Sunday and we'll get a croissant or some kind of pastry. But it's not like this like animalistic urge and need to have something like this anymore. And it used to be like that. So I do want you to take care of your gut microbiome. This is having lots of fiber from whole foods, but also looking at prebiotic foods. So prebiotic foods, bananas, oats, going to be garlic, onions, leeks, etc. But then also probiotic foods in yogurt, miso, raw kimchi, and raw pickles. This is not vinegar based. This is not from the aisle because it's already been pasteurized, so all the good bacteria is gone. Certain kinds of sourdough, but if you make it at home, you'll get the benefit, or like a true sourdough. Also, if you are going to have something like kefir, for example, coconut kefir, milk kefir, water kefir, all of those count as well. So increase your good bacteria in the gut, also increase your fiber intake. We've talked about chocolate cravings there. Now we're also going to talk about salt cravings. I have always been a sugar craving kind of girl, except for when I was training for an ultra marathon. That is when I noticed I had salt cravings for the first time in my life. And I found myself binge eating an entire bag of chips, which has never happened. Like you could put me in front of a bowl of plain chips and I could not touch it and like not even think about it. Different story if it was like something sweeter, okay? However, salt. Salt cravings can be from when you naturally need more salt. So salt can come in the form naturally from seafood, from seaweed. I know this seems weird, but celery and beets as well. And another thing is to have good quality sea salt. I always talk about good quality sea salt because it is one of the pillars for a healthy electrolyte balance and therefore really how your system, how your body works. Okay. So I want you to have naturally salty foods there. And if you are going to have some chips, can you have it be baked or roasted instead of fried? Okay. Also, you might consider having more complex carbohydrates like sweet potatoes, more quinoa, more oats as well, because your body actually might be needing a little bit more energy as well. But the big one is really having naturally salted foods, maybe making your own electrolytes, for example, having more complex carbohydrates, always making sure that your protein is sufficient as well. So we've talked about salt cravings, sugar cravings, ice cream or cheese cravings, talked about meat cravings, talked about sour cravings as well. Just going through my list here. So these are going to be foods that are going to help guide you to make healthier choices and have more power over how you feel, how you look, and this is really about body literacy and education, which is what I am here for. Know that your cravings are natural. And if you have any ones that I did not cover, please let me know because I'd love to make a video and really be of value to you um, during my time here. So let me know below if any of these resonated, if there's some cravings that you're having that I have not covered. And I cannot wait to see you next time. Thanks for joining me. See you again. Bye for now.